it is very important that you have to put your foot down when someone is taking advantage of you. One of the biggest tragedies that anyone could have throughout their life is staying in a relationship too long that's dragging them down. Believe me, it's 100% tougher when you're actually in the situation. You have these emotional connections with people. You've spent all this time investing, hopefully in each other, but definitely you've invested in them. You got to know them really on this deep level. It's pretty common that as we get older, we tend to not have as many friendships as we did when we were younger. We just don't see as many people. We don't do the same things where we're around that many people. It's pretty natural that your circle shrinks. But, along the way, these people can stick in your life for years. And whenever you have that bond with those type of people, you know a lot about them. You know a lot about how they grew up, or at least over the years, you've seen their development from who they were, who they became, and really just kind of how they work as a person. So you get to know these people at a deep level. Now, when you develop these relationships, these ones that stick around for really a lifetime, is that you develop a lot of trust with these people. I mean, you wouldn't be talking or associating or even spending your time with these people because you know that the payoff would not be there. So you dedicate all this time, personal resources to, get to know this person and to help build them up along whatever they're going through in life. So you don't ever expect anyone to let you down or anything like that. So I tell this story because back in 2020, I had this friend that I had known my entire life. We were friends since I was probably about 5 years old. Grew up together, went to the same school. We went separate ways when we got out of school, but we always kept in touch over the years. And he was going through a really rough time. He was married at the time. He had kids, 2 or 3 kids, I believe. And some things had happened between him and his wife. And, they were in the process of getting divorced. He had to get a completely different job. So he started to work in the oil field, traveling around the Midwest, really. Throughout this time, he's struggling with money because the story was that his wife had come in, had an affair with someone, took all of his money, and he was left to kind of rebuild from nothing. I don't know the truth to that, but that's what he told me. So I didn't really have any reason to doubt him. And he calls me up and he says, "Hey, I need some help, man. I'm going through this tough time." He explained all the details to me. And he was like, "Would you be willing to loan me some money?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, no question." I'd known this guy forever. So to me, it was without question, we're going to do whatever we have to do to, help you get back on your feet. And I was like, "Well, how much money do you need?" So at first he says, "I think $500 will be good." Like, "Okay, no problem. I'll send it over." So I sent him over the 500. And then a couple days later, he said, "Man, I just got word that with my new job, I'm going to have to travel. I have to go up to, I think it was like North Dakota or something. And I'm going to have to spend a couple weeks there, but I won't get paid until that 2 weeks is up," which is reasonable. He had also mentioned that he was a 1099 contract worker. So a lot of times with that type of situation, you have to pay for your own travel on the front end and you get reimbursed. So he said, "Hey, can I borrow a little bit more money?" And I said, "Okay, sure. How much?" And he says, "I think, probably about 2,500 total. The 500 you already gave me, and then another 2,000 cover my expenses up there and cover lodging for the next couple weeks." Sure. Sounds good. No problem. As I mentioned, trust this guy. No problem. I loan him the money. We keep in touch, kind of like we had been every few weeks or so. And the last thing I wanted to do was pressure him to pay me back because it was always like a mutual understanding. He said, "Please, do you mind loaning me some money?" Not giving me, loaning me. So I didn't really have any intention of, making him sign a contract or anything like that. Dude was going through a pretty tough time. So as he goes on over the next couple months, I start to notice that he is still talking with me, but I'm reaching out more than he used to reach out. Notably, I'm not the best at keeping long distance relationships. I don't do a good job of prioritizing it. So oftentimes, people will be the first one to reach out to me. So I started noticing that he hadn't been reaching out as much. So I wanted to obviously make sure that things were moving in the right direction and he was, on the right path. During this time, he didn't really have social media. So he had gotten social media back after the process of going through this divorce. And I started noticing that he posted, these pictures of him with a lot of alcohol. And I'm thinking, where'd you get that money? And why are you, posting these crazy pictures of you just being totally drunk? And about 6 months later, with no thought of bringing up, hey, let me start paying you back, or hey, I know I borrowed this money from you. Let's talk about what we can do to make things whole again. I ended up having to just ask him. I said, so what is the plan as far as getting me paid back? And he said, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to get you the money. He made some, small excuses about, I got to pay this, I got to pay that, blah, 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 all these things. So I say, okay, in 3 months, let's start a small payment plan back to me, $250 a month. That if you're working how you say you're working, that should be a drop in the bucket. You shouldn't even blink at that. The 3 months pass and I expect the first payment and I have to reach out to him. And again, it's some other excuse. We're 6 to 12 months down the road from this point, hasn't paid me back a dime. And I eventually just have to just lay it all out and say, hey man, you have gotten to the point where you've taken advantage of me. This has to stop. I need the whole $2,500 back immediately. If you don't have that, then this relationship cannot go on any further. If you're going to let an amount of money like that ruin this 20 plus year friendship, then we've got bigger issues here anyways. So he sends me a text back and he says, you know what, you're right. I'll get you the money over. What's your address? I'm going to send you a check. So I gave him the address. Obviously, a couple of weeks went by, no check. And after about a month of, waiting on that, I ultimately end the relationship. I said, do not ever contact me again. I have no reason to want to help you out anymore. You've completely ruined this and you've lied along the way. I'm not even 100% sure if you are getting a divorce. I'm not even 100% sure if you are telling the truth of what actually happened. For all I know, you have a drinking problem. You were looking to fund whatever it is that you were trying to do, and you've lost sight about the people that have helped you get to where you are right now. So moving forward, do not contact me because this business relationship is completely over and you can consider our friendship the same. Now, I'll tell you this story, not because I'm proud to have ended this, 20 plus year friendship that I had with this guy, but to tell you that it is very important that you have to put your foot down when someone is taking advantage of you. And it can happen at really any moment. It can happen to you from the people that you've trusted your entire life. It can happen to you from people that you just met yesterday. Now, this is coming from a guy who used to call me and tell me that he would not get out of bed for anything less than $100,000 a year. I should have known after hearing something like that this dude has some major issues. Because if you are that arrogant that you are not willing to work in the biggest disaster of what could possibly be going on in your life, you aren't willing to start over from square one. There's a lot of soul searching that needs to be done. Now, believe me, I know that people get in a bad way and sometimes things take a turn for the worst. But I will tell you, looking back at a lot of the conversations, oftentimes you can tell if the relationship is going in a positive direction or if you need to end this thing a lot sooner. Because let me tell you a little bit about this. Over the years, this guy had actually cheated on his wife. And the entire reason why they were getting divorced is because she had actually cheated on him. Rather than ending the relationship when the initial cheating happened with him and another woman, or deciding to work it out amongst each other, there'd been a tension between each other of you owe me one, or like keeping score. Number one, why are you in a relationship if you feel that and have that type of approach? Number two, that is destined to fail. There is absolutely going to be an explosion at some point, and it's probably likely when you're not even going to be expecting it. Because you have this emotional attachment to people. Maybe you've spent years getting to know them, developing a relationship, or maybe you share the same interest that you were both young children that went to elementary school together. If you want to keep progressing forward in your life, people have to earn the right to be in your circle and you have to earn the right to be in theirs. This is a two-way street when it comes to working with other people, especially as you get older and priorities start to change. When you reach this point of deciding, I don't think this relationship can go on, I need to cut this off before it gets any worse, that doesn't mean that you can't forgive these people and move on. To this day, I don't think about this anymore. I don't think about what had happened. And for a long time, it did eat me up. It did bother me. But you have to kind of look at this in the perspective of a long-term type of view. If I'm going to let $2,500 bother me today, my frame of mind is so small that I don't believe that I can make that $2,500 elsewhere, that I don't believe that I can cover that loss in a different area. Focusing on such a small number in the grand scheme of things is what's going to keep you stuck and letting someone else control what you're thinking, letting someone live rent-free in your mind because they screwed up. That's the thing in your life is the more successful you become, the more stable you become. People are going to lean on that. They're going to attach to that, and they're going to expect you to get them out of their mess. So it's like the old saying says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You've got to decide who earns your attention, who deserves your attention, and who are you willing to build this relationship with long term. Because if they want a seat at the table with you, then they deserve to have your full attention as well as them giving you theirs. It's going through these relationships half in, half out, where someone ends up getting hurt along the way. So naturally, it's going to be hard to cut the relationship off. At some point, you have to decide, is all this effort, this energy, this mental bandwidth that I put into thinking about how this person screwed me over, you have to decide, I got to move on. Or am I going to just sit here in the same spot, worried about something very small in terms of your entire life? Or are you going to pick up the pieces, get your stuff together, and move forward? I get it. The person that took advantage of you, they left a trail of destruction. But going through that experience gives you wisdom. It gives you the knowledge of how to better trust someone and how to read the situation. I mean, this is just one example of the times that I went out and helped someone and it did not work out. You know, if you compare this to the times that I have helped someone where things have worked out great, it's such a small percentage. You start to realize that, hey, there's going to be some losses that come with, you know, helping people out along the way, but there better be more wins that outweigh the losses. Otherwise, you're going to have to look at the people that you're hanging out with and that you're just associating with in general. But anyways, I wanted to share this one with you guys because I know it can be tough when you're in this situation that you're in a relationship or that you are very close to a person. And in the back of your mind, you know that you've got to make this decision. I think it's time for me to move forward and leave this person behind. Like I said, easier said than done, but it can be done. You've heard me say this before. You got to think of your life in decades. How much better is my life going to be with this person completely out of the picture? How much stress am I going to be released from? Take that, keep the vision in your mind of where you want to be, who you want to become, and use that moving forward. I'll talk to you guys soon.